So, Bill, we're not going to do a song thing. We're going to do you have a short story for us?
I have a short story, yes. I think I'm on here for comic relief, so please laugh at the end. In 1979, I was invited to try to put together a new anthology of Jewish humor. And I was delighted, but I didn't feel up to the task. I love Jewish humor, but who was I to do such a book? So I went to see Moshe. You know which Moshe I mean, I think. My good friend Moshe Waldoks. And said, will you help me? Will you be a consultant, is what I said. And he said, no, I won't be a consultant. I'll be your full partner. And I said, well, what about the advice we're always told, don't do business with your friends? He said, then who should you do business with? And I didn't have a good answer to that. So we became partners, and our friendship was only enhanced by the experience. The Big Book of Jewish Humor came out in 1981. About 6 weeks after it came out, Moshe started saying, you know, we ought to have a 25th anniversary edition. This was a little premature for me, but 23 years later, in fact, we did put together a 25th anniversary edition, and we were fortunate enough to be invited on Tom Ashbrook's show, I think it's called On Point, still on WBUR, and it then, as now, this was in 2006, was syndicated to a number of cities. So we talked about Jewish humor, and we told our favorite jokes, and we took phone calls, and people told jokes, and all the jokes pretty much fell into either one of two categories. Either they were already in the book, but that's okay, the listeners didn't know that, or we had decided they weren't funny enough to be in the book. But these are judgment calls, and everything was going well. Then near the end, a guy calls from North Carolina and tells us a good joke that we had never heard before. He says, he didn't use the word shadchan, but it's about a shadchan, a matchmaker. He says, in a certain Orthodox family, there was a 32-year-old young man named Bernie who still wasn't married, and the family was getting concerned. So although he wasn't crazy about it, they bring in a shadchan, and he sits with the family, and he says, let me work on this, and I'll come back to you. A month later, the shadchan comes back, and he's with the family. He said, I have some very good news for you. I found a girl. She's 25. She's modern Orthodox. She's very smart. She's a physics teacher at the local high school, the best of the local high schools. And she comes from a family with some money. And by the way, she's also very beautiful. So the parents are very pleased, and the boy is still saying nothing, and the parents say, well, we should introduce them, absolutely. And as the shadchan's leaving, the young man comes out after him. He says, let me ask you something just between us. And the shadchan says, sure. The young man says, is she good in bed? The shadchan says, well, that's the thing. Some say yes, some say no.
I don't get it. Okay, we're going to have a break now. Cheryl, for how long? Because it's now 9. Cheryl, where are you? Cheryl, how long a break? 15 minutes. Okay, so the lights are going to go on. Food is in the back. Wine is over there. Blah, blah, blah. 9:15, back in your seats. 4 more stories. Blah, blah, blah. And then we're going to have a sing down.